let's talk about the Black Lives Matter movement and how it found momentum in the aftermath of George Floyd's murder. And many Black Montrealers reconnected with family and friends to have discussions around the topic, which ultimately helped them deepen their connections with their circles and gain a larger support system. With more on this, we go to Dr. Myrna Lashley, Associate Professor of Social and Transcultural Psychiatry at McGill. Dr. Lashley, thank you so much for coming back on the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
So there's a couple of studies here, right, out of McGill, looking at the Black Lives Matter movement and how it strengthened Montreal's Black communities. Can you tell us what your fellow researchers at McGill have gleaned out of this?
Well, they've come to the realization, I think it's something that those in the Black community have known, but we now know it empirically, that it has brought the community closer together. There's a common realization. You don't feel you're alone so much that you're fighting on your own or that no one cares. It's given us a sense of purpose. It says essentially that we recognize that we're all going through the same thing, and it's made us feel that we're not alone, essentially.
Mm-hmm. And, of course, 2020 was a year where we saw, the murder of George Floyd, and it was also at a time of a pandemic. Mm-hmm. Another event where family became all the more important and close friend circles became all the more important. Do you see a tie-in between those two affairs and the timing?
Absolutely. You had this disbursement before, and people were doing their own things. What the pandemic did was it highlighted the need for family. We couldn't get close to our family, and so that the absence was felt more. Previous to that, you may have like I do. You have a sister living in Ontario, or you have a family member living in Europe, or something like that, and you always I could get on a plane, or they're fine. Didn't worry about it that much. But the pandemic brought to the fore one's mortality, and the fact that I may not see my sister again, or I might not see my niece again. It made it quite poignant. And it was, I've got to reach out. We've got to solidify this family. We've got to solidify this sense of belonging. I can't let this go without touching base. A lot of us in the Black community call it touching the earth. Well, we couldn't let that go. We had to know that we were surrounded, that our ties were strong. The same thing happened with the unfortunate death of George Floyd, is that it sent a message that, my God, this could happen to me. It could happen to my family member. It could happen to a friend. And we've got a common cause. And we saw the uprising not only in Canada and the United States, but around the world. So we had that sense of bonding, not just with the immediate family, but with the collectivity of Black people around the world, and where people were saying, we haven't talked about this, but it's happening to us too. We saw it happening in France, in England, in Belgium, in Germany. The sense of we are one. We've got to fight this together. You are not alone. We cannot fight this alone.
Sorry to interrupt there, Doctor. Finish your thought.
No, I was going to say so. As painful as it is that George Floyd died, and then they made this a horrible thing, but his little girl is correct. Daddy changed the world. Her father did change the world. And I hope that brings that families some comfort.
With Dr. Myrna Lashley from McGill. And that, what you just said, leads me into my next question, because, it's a tragedy. It's a terrible thing that happened. And then, but you also look at the fact that so often, we have example time and time again, whether it's trauma, it's going through something, a moment of adversity, how it actually leads to stronger connections, stronger bonds, a stronger community. And it's unfortunate that it happened, but clearly there's been something really good that came out of it.
Absolutely. I tell myself, I never met the gentleman. Most of us haven't. But I tell myself, whenever anyone talks to me about this is one time when we can say without glibness, because this rolls off our tongue so easily, this man really did not die in vain. His death means something. And we've made it mean something. It's unfortunate. It's horrible. What happened to him shouldn't happen to anybody. But I thank the stars that something good came out of this. This is not just another black man dying somewhere nobody cares, and another guy who got killed. And you say, oh well, next let's go have a steak. And then couple that with the pandemic, all of these things coalescing, it really said to the community, we've got to work as a collectivity. We've got to come together. We've got to stand up. We can't let this man's death be just something else that just gets thrown in the garbage. And it hasn't been. And so from the bottom of my heart, I hope that this helps his family, especially his daughter. She's got a lot of living to do. And I really hope that this helps her the same way that Dr. King's death helped his children to become the wonderful people that they are today. I hope this happens for this little girl.
Is it safe to? Is it fair to say? Is it safe to say that what we've seen and the bonding that's happened in the black community in light of what happened to George Floyd has actually led to concrete policy change?
I think it's on the way. One of the things that I see is more and more people, more and more companies get in touch with me to ask me to come and do training for them or to come and give talks to help people to understand what's going on. I think one of the good things that I've seen is that more and more non-black people are starting to understand what is meant by systemic racism and are starting to understand that they cannot allow this to continue and that they have a responsibility. And so we, as human beings, regardless of our color, that we have to work together to make this world a better place. I think more and more people who are the descendants of colonial powers, and those of us who are the descendants of those who were enslaved by colonial powers, are starting to see that we've all been trapped in white ideology, in systemic racism, and that we've got to work together to change it. That does my heart good. So policy changes, I haven't seen those concrete things as much as I would like to, but I'm seeing changes in everyday human beings, and that's a good thing.
And to that, one of the things last summer, we were seeing cities that, are maybe 1% black, 2% black. I remember seeing, Boise, Idaho, and cities across Canada don't have large black communities, but they were out there. They were protesting too. The fact that the black community could see, the other members of their communities, white people and other people in the community standing for them, has that provided something to the black community over the last year?
Absolutely. But I don't want to say standing for them. I want to say standing for us as human beings. Because I think we have to get away from the us-them dichotomy.
Absolutely.
I want to say standing for us. This is our world. We are responsible for it. We are responsible for what we pass down to all of our children. I go to a rally and I see all colors of babies and all colors of people, and that does my heart good, that there are people there who are saying, we can't just sit back anymore and say, oh, look what's happening to the black people. We've got to say, look what's happening to us as human beings. And do we want that to continue or do we want to change it? And it's in our hands. We can do this.
Dr. Lashley, we have to leave it there, but I want to thank you for coming on and talking over the last 10 minutes. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Have a good day.
You too. Dr. Myrna Lashley, Associate Professor of Social and Transcultural Psychiatry at McGill.